In 1859, a Canadian entrepreneur opened Watson's Mill, which became the lifeblood of the community. It was the fruition of a dream, but a tragedy ended it all one horrible day and began one of the strangest ghost stories in Canadian history.
My name is Glenn Shackleton. I'm the director of the Haunted Walk of Ottawa. The spot that we're in today is the Manotick Grist Mill, also known as Watson's Mill. And this is one of our more famous haunted spots in the Ottawa area.
Joseph Currier built the mill in 1859 and 1860. They officially opened the mill on Valentine's Day, 1860. And the Ottawa Citizen newspaper reported that it was one of the finest mills that they had ever seen in eastern Canada.
The year after the mill was built, Joseph Currier got married to a very young wife. She was half of his age, only 20 years old, a woman by the name of Anna Crosby Currier. 2 weeks after they were married, Joseph Currier brought his wife here to visit the place of his business. And as they were conducting business downstairs, they told Anna to be free to wander through the building and have a look at it for herself.
March the 11th, 1861 was when the tragedy struck. They came and settled in Ottawa in early March, went on to Manotick to have the first official celebration of their one-year anniversary of a very successful mill. Mrs. Currier, who was 20, and Mr. Currier was 40, were being shown through the mill, and on the second floor, her long hoop skirt got caught in one of the revolving pieces of machinery. She was flung against a very sturdy post, killed instantly, and that was the beginning of the end of Mr. Currier. His wife was so much a part of him that when she was killed in the mill, he just couldn't take it anymore, and he got out of the mill and apparently never came near the town again.
Instead, he went into the carpentry business in Ottawa, where he began to build houses to get over his grief. One of the buildings which he built and spent most of his time on was 24 Sussex Drive, now the home of the Prime Minister of Canada.
This is a highly charged story about emotion, raw emotion called love. The love between two people, a man and a woman. Unfortunately, this love would and wouldn't extend beyond the grave. She's still there. He may not be.
The first reported sighting of the ghost occurred when a fisherman fishing off the dam got caught in a very heavy wind and rainstorm, and he sought refuge out of that by crawling in an open basement window in the mill.
He was sleeping on the first floor. In the middle of the night, he was awakened by the sounds of loud moaning and weeping. He was absolutely terrified. But he spent the entire night huddled in fear on the first floor. In the morning, he found out that there was no one in the building all night long. He could have only heard the ghost of Anne Currier. Many of the people in the village of Manotick also say that they will see signs of Anne Currier. They see her moving from window to window, looking down upon them. As well, some local children who have been by the museum at night say that they will see a woman dressed in period clothing who stares down from the window on the second floor down towards them, looking very sad. Sounds occasionally are heard coming from the third floor as well, not only by the staff who work here in the museum, but also by people who happen to be walking by the museum at night. They say they will hear sometimes the sound of crying or sobbing. At other times they will hear a mournful wailing or other sounds of that nature. There has never been any explanation for these sounds, as the museum is closed at night, and on many of these occasions it was certain that there was no one here.
Everyone that comes in knows the story of the dead bride and of the mill. And there's a lot of moving equipment that makes noises. There's a lot of sounds that come from the moving water. And a building like that would be creaking all the time. So obviously it has a bit of an eerie feeling. But sometimes when a dramatic death occurs and there's a lot of grief, that it's almost as if a building picks up all these vibrations, the same as a record picks up the vibrations of the singers. In a way, it's almost as if someone who is a receiver and highly open to the psychic comes into a place where a traumatic event occurred. They become almost like the needle and have the thing go around again and happen. It's not necessarily that there's a ghost living in the place. It's just that perhaps the event was seeped and recorded into the walls.
Some psychics claim that there are male presences as well here in the mill, and that Anne Currier is not the only ghost at Watson's Mill. They say that there are several male presences right here on the 3rd floor. They say that these are hostile, malevolent spirits. Many people will hear banging or footsteps, and staff here at the museum also find that heavy equipment has been moved around in the attic when they are absolutely certain the building has been empty. Perhaps these male spirits are the souls of lost workers here at the mill who are trapped still here in the attic. Work in those days, of course, in a mill of this sort would have been very dangerous. It's extremely likely that many would have lost their lives in the process of working here in the mill.
The staff has experienced numerous sightings or sounds or even temperature changes in the mill. One employee in particular would hear voices, and this led her one day to go down into the basement. She heard chains rattling. The temperature dropped, and she fled, rarely to go down there again.
Watson's Mill is still run as a museum, so it is a place that anyone can visit. It has a terrific ghost story and quite an interesting history, and is well worth a stop.
Watson's Mill remains the same as it did the day Anne died. Love has kept Anne chained to the place she died. Anna still awaits the day of freedom to join her husband. And perhaps one day she may.